Hey, this is Mike Matthews from muscleforlife.com. Thanks for checking out my first video podcast thing. I've had a lot of people request that I start doing videos and start doing a podcast. So I figured, all right, I'll do them both at the same time. So I'll start doing other videos as well. I would do training videos and stuff, but the gym that I work out in, they're kind of weird about it, and it would have to be at really weird hours. And there aren't that many gyms in the area. Like, I've called different gyms, but I'm going to work it out. It's just kind of a pain in the ass because my schedule is kind of crazy right now, and I don't have that much time there just would be no way for me to it would take an entire day probably to go shoot a bunch of stuff in the gym. But I do have some instructional videos and stuff that are already shot. I just need to narrate them and finish up on the editing and stuff. I mean, I won't do the editing, but I'll have to narrate it. But it's on the list. It will get done soon. I'm just, have a lot going on with launching the supplements right now, and launching a new book, and, running the website and whatever. So anyways, as you can see, this is my office. This is where I sit and stare at a computer screen all day. I'm in Florida. It's nice outside. It's like 6 o'clock right now. Sun's going down. It's hot. It's like 90 degrees outside and 100% humidity. Anyway, so in this podcast, I talk about a couple things. Talk a little bit about my cut and how it went. I just finished cutting. Went from about 9% to 6%, about 8 weeks or so. Just maybe give you a couple tips on how to make your cuts go faster and easier, and so you can because you really want to get them over with as quickly as possible. Not just because cutting sucks. I mean, I don't actually mind it that much, but more for just the preservation of lean mass. You want to, you don't want to stay in a deficit for long periods of time, and you also don't want to go in too much of a deficit and try to rush it, because then you lose too much muscle as well. So anyways, we'll talk a little bit about that. I'm going to be talking about. I'm going to go over a couple questions that people have asked on the blog, and that I said I would address in the first podcast. So we'll just get to them. I don't talk about them all right here. We'll just get to them one by one. So first, on my cut, it took about 8 weeks. I lost about 13 pounds. Went from like 198 to like 185. I'm hovering around 185, 184. So that's where I'm at right now. My calories, I started around 2,500, maybe 26. I don't remember exactly. And lifting 5 days a week, cardio 3 days a week. I like to do HIIT cardio only. You burn more fat, you preserve muscle. Why even bother with going outside and just jogging for an hour? So I can just burn up more muscle and burn less fat than if I go on a recumbent bike for 20-30 minutes and do HIIT. So that's what I do. The condo building that I live in has a gym. It doesn't have any, it has some weights, but it's light weights. It's worthless. Some machines and stuff, but they have a recumbent bike, which I always use. So what I do is I just go on the recumbent. I do it at night. I lift early in the morning. I drive to a real gym, and lift, and then at night I hop on the recumbent bike. Very simple. I just do a little warm up, and then I bump the resistance up to like 4 or 5 and pedal as hard as I can for 30 seconds, and then put it down to no resistance, to level 1, and just it's, I think I keep it at like 14 miles an hour or something like that, for 60 seconds, and then back resistance up, pedal as hard as I can for 30 seconds, 30-60, 30-60, like that. Sometimes I go 30-30. It just kind of depends, I guess, how I'm feeling at the moment. I don't do the low intensity is never longer than 60 seconds though. I like the biking. I found it also helped with my leg strength, actually. At first, my legs were kind of sore from it. It was getting a little bit annoying because my legs days were being affected by it. But as I continued to do it, my legs, I saw an improvement, not just on the bike, but also in my squats and stuff, which was nice. And in terms of a cardio schedule, what I like to do is I like to not do cardio the day before legs. For me, legs is Thursday today, so I don't do cardio on Wednesday night, because I usually find, even though my legs are pretty conditioned to it now, that they'll be a little bit sore, they'll be a little bit achy or stiff or whatever, and it will mess with my lifting a little bit. So I'll do cardio like Sunday night, Monday, And then if I'm doing 4 days, I'll do Tuesday as well. If I'm doing 3 days, I'll take Tuesday and Wednesday off, so my legs are totally good. I'll lift on Thursday, lift legs, and then I'll do cardio again tonight, which I've actually found has helped with soreness. I don't really get that sore these days, but I still will get sore really from the big lifts, like deadlifts will still make my back sore, squats still makes my legs sore, but by doing cardio at night, I've noticed that the soreness in my legs is it's noticeably less come Friday, come Saturday, so that's always nice. It's it's not fun to you try to go out on the weekend and do things and you're like Frankenstein because of legs day. So anyway, yeah, that's what I like to do for cardio when I'm cutting. I had to cut my calories, 2,500 or so, 2,600 took me. I probably went from like 9% to like 8, maybe 7.5 on that, and then I had to cut about 100 calories a week for the final 4 weeks or so to get down to I'm somewhere around 6% right now. It's kind of hard to measure unless I would go get like DEXA scanned. I have the calipers that I recommend on my website, and they're good. They're accurate to within 1%, but when you start getting really lean, there's just not that much skin to even grab, so it can be a little bit hard to know exactly. Am I exactly 6? Am I 6.5? Don't know, but I'm somewhere down there, which is mainly, how you look. That's really what we're going for. So it's you look in the mirror and you go, do I need to be leaner? Yes or no? So yeah, my calories at the end, I got down to about 2,000 a day, which isn't even that bad. It's enough food. Like I'm not particularly hungry during the day. I feel fine. So that's basically how it went. And right now I have a photo shoot. It's supposed to be this week, but it's going to be next week. So I'm just keeping my calories at 2,000. I might as well, see if I can lose a little bit more fat by the time the photo shoots roll around next week. So I'm going to do that, and then I'm gonna maintain. And that is simply a matter of increasing calories. And probably usually what has happened last time I cut down to this lean was I was increasing my calories, and I'll probably do it by I'll probably increase 100 calories a week. I'll add in some carbs just because they're great for. My body does very well with carbs. Some people's bodies don't do too well with them. Most people I find do, and if they do have any problems metabolizing carbohydrates, regular exercise and healthy eating usually does a lot to improve that. So anyways, I'll increase my carbs just because it gives you more energy in the gym. You can lift more weight, and that's what I like to do. So I'll probably increase them by I don't know, maybe like 30 a day or something like that. So I'll bump my calories up 100, 150 calories a day, do that for a week and see how my body responds. Last time that I was cutting to around this kind of level, it's funny, I kept on losing weight. Like I was having trouble stopping the weight loss. At that time I wound up around 178, and I was pretty lean. I was probably, I was right around this, 6-ish, maybe even a little bit below that. I really had like nothing left I could grab. My skin just felt like the top of my knuckles kind of everywhere. So, but as I increased calories, I was continuing to lose. Like I wanted to stop the weight loss at 180, and then so I bumped my calories up to 100 a day. Still lost weight, about a pound that week. Bumped them up another 200 or so. Now I'm up to 24, 25. Lost another pound. And I've heard other people that run into that. I guess it's just your metabolism does regulate itself based on how much food you're eating. So that's what I'm going to do this time. I'm going to bump my calories up between 100 and 200 per day, and just find all I'm looking to do is stop the weight loss, and I'll stay the same in terms of body fat. And regarding my cheating, this is also a good little tip if while you're cutting, or if you want to maintain a particularly lean look, is to use some intermittent fasting. I don't do it every day because I honestly don't like it that much. The fasting part doesn't bother me. What I don't like is actually having to eat really large meals. I don't like the feeling, I just want to pass out. Like if I go eat 1,500 calories, even of good food, it makes me tired. And my computer screen, there we go. So I don't like doing it on a day-to-day basis, but it is useful. I find it in two different scenarios where I actually do like to work in a little bit of IF. One is I like to eat pancakes. Pancakes are straight delicious to me. It's probably one of my favorite cheat foods. Very high carb though, obviously. So what I'll do is, like Friday night, I'll eat my last meal, maybe like, let's say I eat my last meal at 10 p.m. I have some protein or whatever, a little bit before I go to bed. And then I won't eat again until Saturday around, I'll probably do like 12 p.m. or 1 p.m., maybe even stretch as long as 2 p.m. So I'm fasting somewhere between 14 and 16 hours, which is, if you are familiar with intermittent fasting, I wrote an article called Definitive Guide to Intermittent Fasting, goes over the whole theory behind it and goes over a lot of the science of it and then some different protocols. But if you're familiar with it, you're probably familiar with Martin Berkhan's Lean Gains protocol, which is, if you're interested in IF, I recommend that's the protocol that you follow because it's particularly well suited to people that lift weights, whereas other protocols like the warrior diet is just kind of stupid because you're allowed to eat fruit throughout your quote-unquote fast. I don't know how that's a fast if you're eating fruit. Anyway, there's alternate day fasting, which there are health benefits, and if you have health issues, there could be reasons to do that. But for people that are lifting weights, that would be terrible. Anyway, you can read more about that on my website if you're interested. So I'll fast about 16 hours, and then I'll eat usually like about 150 grams of carbs in one go, and that's pancakes and maple syrup. I don't like the Walden Farms cancer. No, I don't know if it is. I don't know what it is. It's like one of those jokes where you just don't even know what you're eating. It's some weird 0-calorie sweet syrup. No, I like the real shit. So I have maple syrup and whatever kind of recipe I'm feeling like for pancakes, but I usually will keep it around 150 grams carbs. And low fat. I'll use a little bit of butter, but I want to keep the fats down to, in that meal, probably maybe 15 or 20 grams. And then I'll have some protein, usually with some Greek yogurt that I put on the pancakes. I have this all worked out. Or I'll have like a protein shake and that or whatever. And so that's like a 1 p.m. just massive amount of food. And then I'm not hungry again until probably 4 or so, and then I'll have some chicken, and that's basically my big carb up. And depending on what I'm doing with my carbs, I may eat some more carbs. Maybe I'll have some more at dinner, and I always like to have vegetables at dinner, but I might have maybe some fruit throughout the day or something like that. But anyways, you can use intermittent fasting to it'll feel like a cheat, like that huge pancake meal feels like a cheat meal, but it's not. I mean, I was doing that every week throughout my cut, which I don't know if I said this, but it went about 8 weeks or so. I lost about 13 pounds. I went from like 9% now to about 6. Anyway, so I was doing that every week, and if you've read any of my work or follow the website or whatever, about refeeding, which is important when you're cutting, especially as you get leaner. You eat a bunch of carbs, and what it does is it spikes a hormone in your body called leptin that basically tells it that it's fed and that it can continue losing fat. Leptin regulates the metabolism. It's actually produced by body fat. So when you have a lot of fat, your body produces a lot of leptin. When you have lower body fat levels, your body produces less leptin, and it slows the metabolism down and so forth. So what I would do is, when I was cutting, I was using this pancake meal as the first meal of my refeed day, which I would shoot for about 350 grams of carbs, about 180 grams of protein, and pretty much as little fat as I could eat. It would usually come out to be about 30 grams though. And I mean, I could go lower, I guess. Some people literally try to have, less than 10 grams, but I'm not too worried about 30 grams of fat. It's just not an issue. And the reason why you keep that low is because dietary fat is most easily stored or most efficiently stored, say, as body fat, because the energy cost to convert the dietary fat into body fat is just very, very low, whereas the energy cost to convert protein into fat is very, very high. the energy cost to convert carbohydrates into body fat is considerable. It's higher than, if I remember correctly, somewhere between 20 and 25% of the energy in the carbohydrate has to be used just to turn it into body fat. And of course, your body doesn't store carbohydrates as fat until its glycogen levels, until the liver and muscle glycogen levels are full, and then it will store body fat. So anyway, with the refeed, what I would do is I'd eat a bunch of carbs, a bunch of pancakes, and then usually I would then plan another big carb meal at dinner, just because I wasn't that hungry, and just keep my fats low, keep my protein up, and that's it. And if I wasn't refeeding, then I would eat all those pancakes, and that would be pretty much like the rest of my carbs for the day. I would get about 30 more. Would just be vegetables. I'd have some vegetables at dinner, and a little bit of carbs to come along. I usually like to eat some Greek yogurt at night. That has I think it's 9 grams carbs per cup. So there was one big meal I got to enjoy, and I was still able to keep within my numbers. So that's an IF use that I like to use, because it makes it fun and fasting doesn't really bother me. Some people get very hungry, especially women tend to get very, very hungry when they're fasting. This would make for a good article. I've been looking into it recently, just in what's the science behind that. And from what I've read so far, it's related to fat oxidation, because what your body does, the process of losing body fat, there are 2 steps. There's lipolysis, which is breaking down the body fat itself into free fatty acids, which are then released into the bloodstream. And then there's fat oxidation, which is where your cells actually take those fatty acids and use them as energy. So there's a 2-step process there. And if your body is not very good at oxidizing fats, and there are things that you can do to impair or improve, let's say if you are used to eating a bunch of junk carbohydrates, let's say a very high carbohydrate, a lot of processed foods, low protein diet, your body is not going to be good at oxidizing fats. It's going to want carbohydrates for energy. So if a person that's in that condition tries to fast for long periods, they get very hungry, because the body, even though lipolysis is occurring, it is breaking down its body fat and releasing those fatty acids back into the blood, saying, okay, here's energy. The cells are not, they can't use it efficiently, so they need energy. So they're kind of freaking out, basically, is how you feel. You get that real deep hunger. That's like pain. You know what I mean? Which I know how that feels. I've had that in the past. My diet wasn't bad, but I didn't really know what I was doing. My protein was actually high, but I'd eat too many carbs, and I was doing various things wrong that would affect my fat oxidation. And now, though, my body is good at oxidizing fats. It probably also has to do with I've been doing cardio regularly for a while now, which helps keep that system working, I guess you could say. So it's, the fasting I don't find hard. I don't even really get that hungry. After 16 hours of fasting, I'm just like, all right, I guess I'm going to eat now. But some people do. So it's something that you will have to try and see for yourself. A friend of mine, when he would do IF, he would get so hungry his hands would be shaking by the time he was able to eat. He would go 16 hours and he'd be like, it's time to eat. So for him, I was just like, why are you doing this? What is the point? It's not, IF is a workable way of dieting, but it's not going to do anything that traditional dieting can't do either. So anyway, one other little use of IF is, let's say you want to go out and have a cheat meal. Let's say it's Friday night, I want to go out. What I'll do, this isn't totally IF really, but it's, I guess, a similar concept in terms of meal frequency and meal composition, is throughout the day, I'm going to keep my carbohydrates and fats low. I'm basically just going to eat, I'm going to have protein in the morning, maybe a little bit of fat, maybe a little bit of carb, maybe like an apple with some protein or whatever. And throughout the day, I'll just, I like to eat smaller meals more frequently. Just feels better for me. And then basically what I'm doing is I'll save pretty much like 80% of my carbohydrates and of my fats, that I'm allowed to have every day for this dinner. So I'm gonna come to dinner knowing that, like, all right, I'm gonna get some sort of protein, just because I'll get if I want to eat a steak or something, cool. So I'm gonna leave myself the protein that I need for the steak, and then I'm gonna have 150 or whatever grams of carbs and like 60 grams of fat in one meal, and just enjoy it. So that's also useful. I don't do that when I'm cutting, especially as I start to get leaner, just because I prefer to know my numbers a little bit better. But that can be useful for maintenance, because you have some more leeway when you're just maintaining. So yeah, that's I guess like kind of the full update on the cut and what I'm going to be doing from here on, just to kind of stay lean through the summer, for doing pictures and whatever, being lean, because it's fun. So let's move on to the next thing here, which is a question that somebody asked. So here's what the person said. I'm in great shape, muscular, vascular, perfect weight for height, but I have a bit of a paunch that I can't seem to get rid of. Even when I was a national class distance runner at 6 foot, 143 pounds, I had a midsection as hard as a rock, but only a 4-pack showing. Those bottom 2 abs are lost somewhere, although my paunch is very unpronounced. And so on and so on. So, okay, so how do you get a great 6-pack? Now, I'm assuming he's saying paunch. I'm assuming we're talking about body fat here. Like, my ab genetics suck. They just do. It doesn't matter how lean I get, I will not have more than, like, you can see 4 of my abs super visibly. Then there's like one that's kind of up here, so it's like kind of like a 5-pack thing. And there's nothing I can do about that. Doesn't matter how much I train my abs, there's no way to like make them symmetrical and make them look perfect. So if we're talking just about body fat here, and by the way, you'll know, like, when you have ab veins, like, you're lean enough. If you don't have a full 6-pack, when you are, you get to 7% and below, it's just not there, and that's me, unfortunately. But I get this kind of question a lot, where people they think they're leaner than they are. I mean, that's usually the problem. Like, I'll have people that will write me and they'll say, oh, I'm like 4% body fat, but I don't have a full 6-pack. Like, no. No, you're not 4% body fat. 4% body fat is bodybuilders on stage. That's 4% body fat. Like, you don't have fat on you. Everything feels, all your skin feels like this everywhere. Like, back of your, lower abs feels like that. I mean, you could have it straight, you're shredded, like, curling, crunching down. So that's one issue. A lot of people, they think they're leaner than they are, so they think like, oh, I'm 6%, but why am I not shredded? Like, well, because you're probably not 6 or 7%. So I'll see that often. And but there also are 2 other things. One is a stubborn fat thing, which I talk about on my website. I have an article on stubborn fat, which is real, and I'll talk more about that in 1 second. And another part of it is relating to body composition. So this is where a person can actually be right. A person could be 8% body fat and look very soft and look skinny fat, and somebody who has a lot of lean mass can be 8% and look pretty good. Like, you're going to have full abs at 8%. You're not going to look rock hard, but you're going to have full abs. You're going to, that's probably like the look that most girls are into. You don't have crazy vascularity, but you're going to look good. You're going to, have that Hollywood kind of look at 8% if you have a good amount of lean mass. So that is, I'll talk about stubborn fat first. So a stubborn fat, it is real. It's not, it sounds kind of bro scientific, but it's not, it's real. What it boils down to is the fat cells in your body, they have 2 different types of receptors, which you can think of as kind of like docking stations for chemicals that your body produces. And they're called A1 receptors, or A2 and B2 receptors, and the alpha and beta, right? So the A2 receptors they play a role in storing energy, is what you can say, because fat cells shrink and expand, right? They fill up with fat, you could say, or energy, right? And the B2 cells are related to actually mobilizing that and shrinking the fat cells, which is what we want. So certain fat cells have a lot of B2 receptors, and they are mobilized very quickly and very easily. And that's in most people, like in guys, it's normally our arms, our shoulders, our chest, are where we lose weight easily and quickly. And our stubborn fat, which is the fat that has more A2 receptors than B2, is for us guys. It's our lower abs, it's our lower back, and in girls, it's the butt, it's the hips, it's the thighs, it's the areas that are harder to lean out. So the solution is simple. All you have to do is keep losing weight. Like, that is all you have to do. There are a couple strategies that you can use to help mobilize stubborn fat quicker. I talk about them on the website. If you go to the website muscleforlife.com and you search for stubborn fat, you'll see. I talk about green tea extract. I talk about HIIT cardio. I talk about yohimbine hydrochloride. And I think a couple other things in that article that you can do to mobilize stubborn fat quicker. And I would go look at the article, because you're going to want to understand how these things work and how much to take based on how much you weigh and so forth. But the bottom line is, keep on losing weight and the stubborn fat goes away. It does. It's just weight loss gets slower. So if you're quite overweight, you could lose 2 to 3 pounds of fat a week, and that's exciting, but there's no way to do that once you start getting leaner. Like at this point, and I'm not actually trying to lose weight anymore, but I started off, water comes out and stuff, so it's hard to say how much I really lost. But once my weight loss stabilized, it was about 1 pound a week, and then it slowed down to about a half a pound a week, and that's where and I was happy with that, and because I knew that that's exactly where I needed to be. So the stubborn fat is harder to lose. It's slower, and you just have to keep on your diet and keep on your exercise program, and make sure that your weight is going down and that you are looking leaner, and it all goes away in time. So yeah, that's basically the answer to this question. Is it's either a point, this person either has to lose more weight, or it's a body composition issue, which is this other point of, if you don't have enough muscle, and this is something I see with girls a lot. It's unfortunate, because the standard advice to a girl that wants to lose fat or get leaner or whatever is just starve yourself and do a bunch of cardio. That's like the standard, in magazines and stuff, and just kind of what a lot of girls get the idea that they should do. And that's the worst thing that you can do, because really what it does is it burns up a lot of muscle. Yeah, you are going to lose fat, of course, when you drastically cut your calories and you do a bunch of cardio. But you're going to lose, in some studies, people, when they drastically cut calories, they'll lose just as much muscle as they will fat. And when you throw in a bunch of cardio on top of it, you're probably going to lose more muscle than you're going to lose fat, because cardio burns up muscle. And especially when you go hop on the Stairmaster for 45 minutes or something like that. And some people, I've emailed people that they'll do that twice a day. So 2 times 45 minutes cardio, 7 days a week, and just basically on a starvation diet of maybe 1,000 calories, when they should be probably around 1,500 or so. So yes, you're going to lose weight, you're going to feel miserable, and they're going to be the worst workouts, like cardio. Even if it's just cardio, it's going to be the worst. You just feel terrible, and you burn up too much muscle, and you can damage your metabolism that way. If you do that enough, if people yo-yo, like starve, burn up muscle, and then what happens is your metabolism, one of the primary, if not the primary driver of the metabolism, is the amount of lean mass that you have. So by the end of doing that, the person now has a slower metabolism, and muscle is healthy. The body, there are studies that correlate the amount of lean mass with just overall mortality, meaning the less lean mass a person has, the more likely he or she is to die, and especially of diseases. Because if you were ever to get a serious disease, the immune system pulls, it needs amino acids, and it would pull on its muscle to get that. And it's seen, I believe it was in AIDS patients. There's a point where if they lose too much lean mass, they die. They have a heart attack and die. And like I said, there's research that correlates overall lean mass to just longevity, especially in the elderly. There's not just the fact of if you don't have enough muscle and you fall down, you're weak, you fall down and break your hip, and that's kind of the beginning of the end. But it's just been shown that having the body wants to have muscle. So when you're burning a bunch of muscle up, trying to lose weight, and then you wind up looking skinny fat. That's the problem, because you can have a relatively low amount of body fat, but if you have very little muscle, a skinny leg can be not actually have that much fat, but there's no muscle to fill it out, so it just looks like a little sausage. And that also can be a problem. I see it mainly with women that have done a lot of the cardio starvation stuff, but also see it with guys that have done a lot of long distance running, not eating a lot, never weightlifted, and then they get this kind of skinny fat look. So the solution is fix body composition. Start lifting weights, start eating enough. If the person, I always will get people off the starvation diets. I mean, I've worked with so many women that start eating more. In some cases, go from 1,000, not losing weight on 1,000 calories a day, and then we get them exercise and exercising, right? We get them exercising properly, get them lifting weights, get them doing HIIT cardio, increasing their calories, in some cases up to 1,500 to 1,800 calories a day, and then they start losing weight, which seems like, what are you even saying right now? But I've seen it, many times. So it's amazing what the metabolism can do when you treat it correctly and you don't abuse it. And if you do abuse it too much, you can get into a situation, and this would probably be a good blog post, you can cause enough metabolic damage that it could take upwards of 6 months to just fix your metabolism. Forget about weight loss. It's not going to happen anymore. You have to now fix your metabolism, and there are different things you can do that. It's not just eat more food. I mean, that's one of the things, but there are certain types of foods and certain types of exercise and stuff. I mean, building lean mass is a big part of it. You're going to have to lift weights. Yeah, I mean, you don't have to worry about that, but just know that that's why cutting calories drastically that's one of the worst things you can do. So stay patient. 1 to 2 pounds a week for most people, that's all you're looking to see in terms of weight loss. And you want to see your strength staying about the same in the gym. You don't want to see big drops in strength. And you should feel fine. You shouldn't be starving. You can be hungry sometimes, I understand, but you shouldn't feel miserable. You should have high. You should generally feel good when you're losing weight. So that's that question. Let's go to the next one here. Someone asking if exercising in the morning helps more. Yeah, fasted cardio is good. Fasted training in general is good. I talk about it in an article on my website on stubborn fat. Actually, if you search for stubborn fat, you'll see. And the thing is, though, to minimize the muscle breakdown, you want to have BCAAs before, branched chain amino acids, which is there are three amino acids: leucine, isoleucine, and valine, I believe. And leucine is really the one that you want, because leucine, it stimulates muscle growth, is actually what it does. So what you're doing is BCAAs, they have a negligible effect on insulin, so they don't break the fasted state. So what you're able to do is minimize the amount of muscle loss, because if you didn't do that, if you go work out on an empty stomach without any protein or BCAAs, you're going to burn too much muscle in that time period, because your body is in a constant state of either breaking muscle down or building it up. And at the end of each day, you've either broken more muscle down than you had in the beginning, or you've built up more, and that's muscle growth. So you want to do whatever you can. Like working out breaks muscle down. That's what you're doing. It's a catabolic activity. The anabolism, the anabolic, the building up occurs after. That's rest, that's nutrition. So what can happen is if you train in a fasted state without doing anything to mitigate the amount of muscle breakdown that's going to occur, that occurs in an accelerated rate when you're fasted. So you're breaking down a lot of muscle when you're training in a fasted state, and then you're not able to build that amount that you lost plus extra back by the end of the day. You could say by the end of the 24-hour period or whatever. So, or if you maybe you're a little bit positive, so you gain a little bit of muscle. Whereas if you were to do something simple like have some BCAAs before, you want about 10 grams, because in most formulations that'll give you about 3 grams of leucine, which is a good amount to stimulate muscle growth, is really what it's stimulating. So you have that before, and then you have a good post-workout meal after, and you just go about your day and do your normal thing on your diet. So yes, fasted training, it does speed up the fat loss process. I linked to a couple studies in the Stubborn Fat article. It explains how that works, but I would say I recommend it. It depends how your body does with it, and this kind of goes back to how well your body can oxidize fat. Some people, like I lift fasted. I have 10 grams of BCAAs before I lift, and I do my cardio fasted. I do everything fasted, and I don't have any problems. But once again, that's most likely because my body just does very well with burning fat for energy. Also, your body learns to not pull on its glycogen stores as heavily when it's in a fasted state, simply because it doesn't have carbohydrates in its system to get energy from. So it learns to be more efficient with what it does have, which is the carbohydrates stored in the muscles, which is in the form of glycogen. So yeah, see how you do with fasted training. Some people do, especially weightlifting, some people do totally fine. I do fine. I can gain strength. Like, it doesn't have any negative effects that I can tell. But I've emailed with a lot of people that hated it. They just had no energy. Their strength was totally bottomed out. So, just told them, okay, let's stop. It's not like you have to do fasted training to lose weight. You absolutely do not. But it is something that can speed it up. So you're gonna have to see how your body does. Cutting in, someone was asking if cardio is necessary for weight loss. That's a good question. A lot of people, wonder about that. I do get asked that fairly often. And the answer is no. Cardio is not necessary for weight loss. You could exercise is not necessary for weight loss, but it depends what shape you're in. If you have a lot of weight to lose, you can lose a fair amount just through diet alone, because your body is willing to just dump the fat, basically, and it's very easy. You just put yourself in a deficit, and that's it, and you lose weight. But remember that your metabolism does slow down when your body's in a caloric deficit. So there is a point where exercise becomes necessary. It doesn't have to be cardio, though. Weightlifting is great. Weightlifting burns a lot of calories. It burns a fair amount of calories while you're doing it. It burns a good amount of calories when you in that afterburn effect, right? So that is an additional caloric burn, and then it builds muscle, which muscle requires calories to maintain. So that also it boosts your metabolism. So weightlifting only and proper diet, in my experience with myself and with people that I've worked with, it'll take you to a certain point. And some people, it really depends on your genetics, and I guess it really is genetics. How low can you go without having to add cardio? Because you can reduce your calories. Like I was saying with my cut, I started around 2,500, and I reduced it about 100 calories a week for the last 4 weeks or so, to just keep the weight loss going. Because I was already doing 3 to 4 days of cardio per week and weightlifting 5 days a week, and I didn't want to cardio myself. I didn't want to start doing cardio twice a day, because that will just burn more muscle. I'd rather just cut a little bit of calories. But so you can do that when you're lifting alone. You can reduce your calories. Once your weight stalls, you can cut them by 100 to 200 calories a day. But there is a point where you can't do that anymore. or you start getting into that starvation where you're just like, you can damage your metabolism. You start losing muscle. So then that's when you have to add in cardio. So usually what I recommend, cardio has a lot of health benefits. I mean, I generally recommend for people to just start doing some cardio in the beginning. Start getting used to it, even if it's just like two days a week. Do 30 minutes of HIIT or 20 minutes of HIIT twice a week, and I do that even when I'm maintaining. I even do cardio when I'm bulking. I don't do a lot, but I like cardio. It makes me feel good, and it also, I find, it helps, especially when I'm flipping from a bulk to a cut. It helps my body burn fat. It keeps, I talk about this in an article. I find that it helps keep the fat oxidation working when I keep cardio in. If you don't want to do cardio from the beginning, then start with diet and weightlifting as the first thing, and then there will be a point when your weight loss will stall with just doing that. And instead of cutting calories further, I would recommend adding cardio. I would say add 3 days of HIIT per week, 20 to 30 minutes. And then it's also, I find it more enjoyable to be able to eat more food. I don't mind going and doing the cardio. For me, it would be more annoying to cut my food back more and more than just, hop on a bike for 20, 30 minutes and listen to a podcast. So yeah, that's kind of the answer to that one. I guess I'll kind of wrap it up here. I don't even know how long, at 40 minutes. I think I'm going to try to keep them shorter in the future. Maybe try to keep them to 20 minutes or something like that, or 15 minutes even, I don't know. I hope you liked it. This is going to be the first of many. I'll probably do it weekly or bi-weekly. It just depends on my schedule. Things are kind of crazy right now. And, I'd love to hear what you think. Leave a comment. I don't even know. I guess we'll put it on YouTube, so you can leave a comment on YouTube, or I'm not sure on the podcast where exactly it's going to go. But if you can comment, leave a comment, shoot me an email, a message, whatever, let me know what you think. Submit questions. I'll probably keep this format where I'll talk about something random that I want to talk about, maybe in the beginning for 5 minutes, and then I'll just address people's questions and address various subjects that people want to know about. Same idea with the blog, with the posts and such. So, this is Mike Matthews, muscleforlife.com. Thanks for spending some time with me, and I'll see you next time.